Could be. See, the thing is that we use the term audio-visual, right? The audio comes first. That has to be respected. Visual comes later. You are visual communication students, but the first word that comes is audio, right? I have now realized. So I'll manage this. Okay, we'll see. So what I was saying is, the cinema history goes around 130 odd years, less than that, not more than that. So moving images have been there 130 years. Tomorrow my friend who is here, Dr. Mr. Behura, he will speak more about the journey of images and how images have travelled through this 130 odd years. In 1902, there was a magician in France who thought that what would happen if people, the human beings, traveled to moon. And because he was a magician and he had his own studio and he was also a filmmaker, he was trying his hands to many things. So he used to do many tricks in his studio and then trial and error things, and he kept on doing that. So he thought it as an idea, what would happen and how do we see that the human beings are sent to the moon. So he created a film called A Trip to the Moon, and the person's name is George Méliès. The film is available on YouTube, you can all watch. It's a fantastic film, and we can't just think that this film has been made in 1902. When the film in the sense, the making of cinema wasn't just a primitive stage in India, so we got to see our own first film in 1913. So 11 years before our own film was made before that. And today, while I was listening to Professor Dr. Veera's speech about Chandrayaan 3, and he was saying how we landed, the soft landing, what kind of funding and what were the difficulties and challenges. So I was trying to compare the reality of actual Land Rover reaching to the moon, and the person who has thought in his full imagination capacity of how the person would go. There are some similarities. So as she rightly said, the poetics on film, on celluloid is something that was achieved then. You must see that film. Because when we shoot anything, actually we do not listen to our minds. The title of my session today is, do we make films? So even without realizing that we are doing something which is going to be of importance of archiving, now just as this thing, say tomorrow somebody turns as a professional filmmaker out of you all, and you become a big filmmaker and you receive a Dada Saheb Phalke award after 50-60 years of your contribution in filmmaking. The first ever smartphone content that you may have shot and have archived becomes of such a high value then. Have we ever thought about it? We have never been careful about archiving our own stuff. Photographs, audio records, video records, our families, functions, houses, the places we have visited, the people around us. We have to be a little more careful, because what we shoot tomorrow becomes an important documentation for the generations to come. This I was not aware, I realized it while I started doing my research projects. Whatever I do today in the form of, say, a documentary production, if I am doing a research through a documentary, this documentary becomes a permanent solution in terms of research for the generation next to come, and see that film as a part of the earlier research being done. It becomes a very important source of information for the people to follow. And similarly, the films have done the same thing in terms of audio-visual records. If you look at a film called Gandhi in 1982, which was made by Richard Attenborough, that film actually becomes a real-life storytelling of Mahatma Gandhi. It was as close, like every 2nd October we have seen that. You also must have seen it on Doordarshan. That's one day that everybody sees almost film in the afternoon on television, and we really think that this is what it is, must have been. So that becomes a proper documentation for the life of Mahatma over the so many years of his service in the country. So you may take it for any film that you may see How many of you go to the theaters to watch cinema? Okay, fantastic. I'm so happy to see this number. So do you prefer a early morning 8:30 show? Are they sell tickets in a cheaper price? No? There is no cheaper ticket for students in theaters? No? Should we float that idea? That's a very good idea. When I was a student at the institute, at 8:30 there used to be a before morning. So the terminology of morning, matinee, afternoon, evening and late night show is gone now. After the multiplex has come, that terminology is gone. So there was a 8:30 show which used to give us a ticket in 49 rupees. 49 rupees. And that was 8:30 pre-morning show. So whatever films that got released in theaters, we used to go because that is what we could afford as a student. And that was a very good idea to have that particular slot. All the young crowd used to be, because everybody had problem with pocket monies and saving. All the young people, even the college age, so that used to be a different show altogether. So, how the perception on cinema changes. Have you heard a film called Gangs of Wasseypur? Okay, a few, yes. So the editor of Gangs of Wasseypur is my batchmate. She has edited both the versions, plus there are many other films that she has edited by now. So, while we were students, one evening on Sunday, while we were sitting under Wisdom Tree, which is a very famous place in our campus, so this Shweta walked up to from the girls' hostel and said, "Arey, bore ho rahe hain Sunday evenings. Chalo kuch film dekhte." So we went to a theatre called Rahul Talkies, and there was a film that was running. Style. Style was the title of the film, and it was a full house show. So we got the tickets, which were I think first or second row, and we got whatever we got. So we went and sat, and that was Ek Chandra film, and the entire theatre we also were laughing, and it was a hilarious film, and we enjoyed it thoroughly. Paisa vasool. Just a couple of years back, one day, I think it was during COVID times, one day Shweta calls me over the phone. So the time when we saw the film, almost 20 years ago, and now she calls me and asks, Dhamle, do you remember we had seen a film called Style in Rahul Talkies? I said, yes, I remember we had gone. Why were we laughing? I said, what, the meaning? She said, I am wondering, because the film is coming on television, and I am wondering why were we laughing and why were the entire theatre laughing? Because now I am not finding anything funny in this film. I am surprised, and the similar feeling on this side also. What happened? What changed in the years in between? There are two things. One is the impact of the audience. We were part of the audience. We were not isolated. We were not individuals. We were part of the audience. So along with the entire theatre, we were also laughing. And what changed in between the years is, we learned what happens in cinema and how films are made. Till that, it was very initial times when we saw that film. We had not become film students as such who have started making films. We were still in the first couple of months in the institute. And we had not got the idea of how films were made. And after that, the entire world had changed. There is a very beautiful essay by Deshpande. Deshpande is a very famous writer in Marathi who has also gone to Bangla and studied at Shantiniketan, etc., etc. So, he had written an essay on Prabhat Film Company. Very, very fantastic incidents that he has recorded in that. So, he took his grandmother to watch Sant Tukaram in Central Cinema in Girgaon, in South Mumbai. So what is the last scene, the climax scene of Sant Tukaram is, the Garuda, the Vahana comes from Vishnu, Lord Vishnu, and it takes Sant Tukaram to the heavenly abode, Vaikuntha. So that scene is considered to be the Vaikuntha Gaman of Sant Tukaram. So he and his grandmother along with a couple of friends had gone to see the film. So everybody was crying in theaters as Sant Tukaram went to the Vaikuntha. Then the film got over. The doors got opened and they started coming out of the theatre. And the grandmother saw that so many people waiting outside the theatre because they were waiting for the next show. So she wondered, what are and why are they waiting? And in such a huge crowd. So the people who were coming in the theatre, she started telling them that there is of no use you going inside the theatre because Sant Tukaram has already left. He is not going to be there in the theatres. He must have reached to Vaikunta by now. And Pula Deshpande has recorded this instance because the innocence of not knowing how the magic is being done is something that we enjoy the most. Why do we like the magic shows? Because we wonder how the magician is doing these tricks. From nowhere, in the hat the pigeon is coming. Now there is a certain change and it is turning into flowers. Then the man who was standing here is vanishing. Do you still enjoy, or would you still enjoy once you know how he is vanishing the man from the stage? This is exactly what happens between knowing cinema, how it is done, and making cinema and watching cinema. Once we know how the magician is doing the trick, we may lose the interest of enjoying the magic, or we may not be there as part of enjoying that magic. Exactly that's what happens. Now in the visual communication academia, whatever you are doing right now, you may be going through all these elements. A picture speaks 1,000 words. You must have gone through this. Have you heard this line? A picture speaks 1,000 words. You may be submitting your theses or projects, etc., etc. So you may be getting into all these detailings. Or the film club people. Are there anybody from the film club? No. Okay. So we watch films here, thanks to the ones who actually go to theatres and watch. Everybody knows there is no Rajni sir on the screen here, right? But still we believe that he is there and he is there for me. Unlike a theatre performance, while the actor is performing here for me while I am in the audience, there is nobody there on the screen. Still we have that belief, and that belief is intact for 130 years. And the kind of number of films that we are making, one believes that it will remain for even for the times to come. Right? Okay, so my inaugural comments are done. Now we will go for the questions. Ma'am, if you have any questions. Sure. Do you know what is written on my WhatsApp status? I will. Is this what is written? Yeah. There is a picture where a horse is riding a man. There is a painting. Sorry? No. There is no. I'm not talking about man riding a horse. That's the first experiment done to create the motion picture. I'm talking about a painting where a horse is riding a man. A horse is on top of man riding the man. So it's not the horse who is running, it's a man who is running. Now apply the same thing to WhatsApp. What do we call it? The status tagline. That is called, what I have written is, WhatsApp is using me. Think about it. WhatsApp is for us. We are not for WhatsApp. Facebook is for us. We are not made for Facebook. We are not born for Facebook. Facebook is born for us. I think this is the way it should be taken. My status says WhatsApp is using me because we have to actually understand it's not the horse who should ride us, it's us who should be riding the horse. It is the same way how we are looking at the smartphones. That is for the benefit of us. But how much time do we spend, when and what and how is something that I think we all have to think about. We'll all have to be thinking about it very seriously. Because the time that we spent on it, actually 99% is a waste. We get many information which we think it's knowledge, which is not. There's a definite difference between information and knowledge. So we do not think of converting that information into knowledge. So whatever we get onto that WhatsApp University, it is not actually put to the test and then gets converted into knowledge. Yes, there are certain things which are very helpful, but there are certain stories which are, good not to be believed. But everybody has a power to write and forward, and write and just send or just receive and forward. So this has become the need, of course. But how much are we using it is something that we have to think. It's my appeal to all of you because you are very young, maybe half of my age or maybe even lesser. So how much time do we spend on that? We must have to think. That's an earnest request that I'm doing. Yes, yes, please. Already has a mic.
Hello.
Hundred percent. Because now, as see, after so many years, I am referring to the 1902 film. So that has become a landmark film, correct? When we are talking about in the context of Chandrayaan 3. So there is a reference to it, definitely. And what you are saying is absolutely valid, because the people who go to watch a film, they do not go and check each and every scene, whether it has happened in their life, whatever character's life or not. Hence that the first slate that appears on film is a little tricky. That the event shown in the film may not be true to 100%, etc., etc. It is kind of a disclaimer. So that disclaimer actually goes and talks about the cinematic liberty. Now there is something called cinematic liberty where I want to show a character the way I want it to be. But actually was the character the same as I am saying it to be? That is actually the debate which is leading what you are saying. Because many occasions we realize that it actually either it goes to a larger than life thing, or either it goes to a lesser than life thing. And to put it into a certain kind of 3-act structure, or to pull it to the climax, there are certain things done under the cinematic liberty, creation of a drama, which may not be part of any that particular character's life at all. The character may not be dramatic at all. It may be very like a simple thing. Now, if you just let's take this example. Me and Viswa was talking. We were talking how simple this Dr. Veera is. How simple, like he was like, sir is also very simple. If you could stand sir, he was exactly looking like sir only. Now if I have to put him on a theatre in front of the people, and I want to put crores and crores of rupees to pull the audiences to theatre, how would it change the entire perception of me making into a film? All the efforts remaining at their own place, there are certain things which have changed. It is based, like, that's the bottom line. That's the service line. So once I'm doing the service, it's like a lawn tennis. I'm serving from the bottom line and then I'm progressing. I'm not talking about the progression, I'm only talking about the service line. Based on true things, based on true events is something that the declaration I am making. I'm not 100% true. Because see, cinema is all about cheating. Better the cheater, better the filmmaker. I am on record. I am saying this. I will tell you why. There is a film called Divar. I am not remembering any Tamil film as a reference, but I will give you a scene. A small boy, you must have seen it in many of the films that you may have seen. A small boy is walking and there is a can, empty can on the street, and he kicks the can, and with the kick he turns into Bachchan. Correct? So with the kick of the can, there is a leap of 25 years. Right? Are we going to sit in the theatres for 25 years to see the kid grow? No. Within just one frame, I am jumping 25 years. So what I am doing? I am cheating the time. Does the audience not know that I am cheating? They know, but they have accepted it. Hence they are coming to theatres to watch the film. If they are not coming to theatres, they are watching it on their own screen, at the houses, mobiles, laptops, whatever. But everybody has accepted this as a fact, that whatever is happening here is not true. We use the terminology, persistence of vision is one, then extension, something, I'll just remember that. So when I have taken it, that I am actually cheating in a way, so hence the best way to cheat is this. The audience is happy, the audience cry, they laugh, they enjoy, they look out for the content which makes worth of their money spent. And they enjoy, it's primarily the entertainment and education. How much is education left is a matter of debate, as he's saying. That if I take Dangal as a sample for future references and generations for research, then would it stand to the test of research? Is what is question, and that is extremely valid, not only for this film but for many films. Hence, because we did our PhD together, hence never rely on one source. Whenever you are doing any research, do not depend on one source, is what it is said. You have to look at it from 360 degrees and then decide exactly what is right or wrong. Welcome guys, the ones who have come a little late, I may not say so, I do not know where you were, but welcome. Are you aware of what we are talking? Hi. Or you have just come to, like, in the best of summers, have you ever thought why the best of summers afternoon shows in theatres are full? Because of the air conditioning. Are you here for that? For the air conditioning or the fans that are going? Yes. Any other question? Yes. I haven't lost the interest in cinema like that, because I have made one very important rule in my life, and I am sharing with you. I share with my students also. Whenever you watch any film for the first time, make sure to tell yourself that you are watching it as an audience and not as a film student. Then your interest remains intact. If you feel like whistling, you should whistle. If you feel like clapping, you should clap. If you feel like crying, you should cry. And you should not keep on putting it in your foot patti, how why this is so and why this is not so and why this is. Let the emotions get engaged. That is what, as we were talking, I was talking about the film. We had not gone to look at the film into the theatre for being a student of cinema. We had gone there to spend time and enjoy. And that's exactly what we did, and we enjoyed. So, after coming to a film school, say if I'm saying I'm into a module of say sound, and in the evening I'm watching a film, so I tend to watch only sounds. Listen to only sounds. Then I go to a camera module, and there is an exercise of panning. So we pan. The entire day we keep on panning only. Do you know what is panning? The camera is panning. This is what is called panning. This is what is called tilting. So the entire day we keep on doing this only as an exercise. So when we go to the theatre in the evening, we keep on watching the movement only because of the entire day spent doing that the same thing. So this is exactly what happens. So we have to come out, tell ourselves that we are going to a theatre, watching a film, to be a part of that audience. We in cinema, anyway, there's a very important thing that I want to tell you, that at FTII, every day 6:30 there is a film screen as a part of academics. So that's our education. So whosoever wants to watch films every day should come to apply to FTII. Because every day at 6:30 there is a film in theatres. And sometimes even after the 6:30 show gets over, some other film at 9:30 also in a smaller theatre. So every day we watch films, and that is something like, wow, what feeling. When I asked that I am applying for the film school, my mother thought that okay, let him apply, he'll realize if he is not selected, fine. So and I got selected at the first attempt. After that she said, now I can't speak, I can't tell him anything, I can't scold, because the everyday viewing of cinema is a part of academics. So mouth shut, see, that thing happened. So somebody who actually loves watching films and watching films from the international arena, like the films come to us from what parts of the world where we do not know that there are people making films. So that is something that I wanted to say. There was something else also. So what was it? That's what I answered, I think that. Correct. No, but I think I answered that. Yes. So you should, the ones who actually love cinema should apply and know better things, know good things from the premier school, which is called Film and Television Institute of India. For those who do not have a long duration time, 3 years, 1 year, or 2 years for acting, etc. Now we have got 12 courses of different sorts. We also run a vertical called Center for Open Learning. We are actually doing shorter duration courses. Script writing, acting. There are a few online courses also. So there is a fantastic organization called Yes We Too Can, and it runs from Chennai actually. So the lady who is behind it, she is doing many courses for people with different abilities. So they are actually disabled people, but we have been able to reach to them also through the online mode. So the locomotor disability, the people who cannot hear, the translations, we are actually teaching them cinema. So actually we are making them, that's what we feel, we are making them, giving them a tool to explore, explain their own feelings. The stories remain the same, the telling changes. Now the way I tell the story, as I said, as a grandchild, if you triple from something and if you get, say, injury, all the grandparents in the world would react the same way. The exclamation would be in different language, but the emotions remain the same. That is what primarily as a language of cinema. You take this scene in any film in the world. If you have to do it, even in Indian cinema also, you take it in any region, the exclamation of a grandparent would remain the same. Maybe the word may come different, it may sound different with regard to the language, Somebody was talking about language. So there is this cinema which has its own language, as we say. Yes, any question? You had a question. Yes, it has impacted the filmmakers 100%, and it may change to the storytelling to a greater extent also. The films which were made for a theatre release got released on OTT platforms, right? Where the filmmaker do not know where we are going to watch it, right? I'll tell you an example. The viewing of films, the moving images began like this. Do you know the machine title? What was it called? We know it as a bioscope, right? This is what it used to be, correct? So we began it like this. Something called retroscope, then something called Edison's. Many of them, actually they were working on that. So I was coming to that. Thank you. It's called kinetoscope, and people used to pay to watch moving images, and there were parlors. 25 cents, so they used to pay and they used to go and individually I used to watch. Correct? Then came the cinema. So when the kinetoscope was in existence, there was no concept of audience because they were individualistic viewing. When it went to the theatres, like the Grand Café in Paris, when they saw the film for the first time from Lumiere Brothers, I'm sure you all know, what happened when the train came on screen? Yes? They were scared and they ran off, right? So when the train appeared on screen, the audience in the Grand Café thought that the train may run over them, so they ran off the theatre. They had to be brought back. So the filmmakers realized the power of the image and the moving images, right? So we went to this. So I'm watching a film now. So now if you look at the theatre, the screen, you would realize you are watching it like that. Correct? Then after a few years, this was in continuation, then came this eye level with television coming in. Correct? So the audience concept from a full house theatre changed to a dining hall or a hall of a house where the family is watching television. Then came laptop. So I went like this. So from this, I went this. Then I went this. Then I went this on a phone, right? And now with VR technology, we have taken a 180-degree U-turn with regard to entertainment. All these things the filmmakers are going to address now. Because when I am making content for theatre and it is not getting released in theatre, the entire perception of the filmmaker is changing. I do not know you are going to watch my film on which device. Right now at least we are into a flat screen. We have not gone majorly into this 360-degree viewing. As a viewer I am not watching it like this. But we may watch it like that. There are devices which are coming for shooting. We may watch it like this also. Right now we are watching it into a 2D plate with the 3D image going in, correct? But the platform where the film is being screened may change. So it is all game of time and space, as we call in cinema, correct? The times, COVID times were difficult. It has affected the space where the films are going to be screened. So the stories have to be rethought to be retold. So that may fit on any screen. That is one of the primary things. I saw a film Gulabo Sitabo eventually it got released on OTT platform. So I watched it on my television set. And I wondered what is missing. I was missing something. It was a good film with Mr. Bachchan and Ayushmann Khurrana. But they were not the hero of the film. The story of the film, Gulabo, am I right? Gulabo Sitabo? Yes. The story of the film revolves around a huge Haveli Haveli is a mansion, palatial place. And it revolves around the issue with regard to that, and then the characters are dealing with what happens to that mansion. What I was missing is, on my television set, I was not getting the grandeur what was expected to be appearing on me as a mansion, as a palace feel. So it was not coming overpowering as an image. I was looking it at an eye level. How would I get that feel of a mansion where people are fighting for it? In a mobile, I won't get it at all. I do not have to even move like that. I am looking at it without moving. So you, as we have asked, now you compare the cinema with whatever you watch in theater and you watch it on cell phone. How it changes your entire perception of the images impacting you. Yes, anybody? Yeah, go ahead. Sir requested me to talk about Tamil films. I know many Tamil films because there is very sorry.
If at all you want to ask questions in Tamil, I can always translate it.
Yeah, go ahead, no problem.
Please, let language not be a barrier here. If somebody has any questions, ஏதாவது கேள்வி இருக்குன்னா கேளுங்க. நான் கிட்ட சொல்றேன். பதிலுக்கு translate பண்ணிடுறேன்.
As you are from All India Institute, I also come from All India Institute. There are students speaking all kinds of language. And sometimes there are barriers also because we do not understand. What I'm talking, he may not understand because he is coming from his own place.
எல்லாரும் விஷுவல் கம்யூனிகேஷன் ஸ்டூடண்ட்ஸ் தான் இல்ல நிறைய பேர் ஆமாவா இல்லையா ஆமா அப்ப நீங்க கேட்கணும்ல நீங்க வந்து விஷுவல்ஸ் நிறைய இது இருக்குல்ல see நான் ஒரு ஜர்னலிஸ்ட் ஸ்டூடண்ட் தான் we are lucky to have sir here ஆமா
இது ஒரு பெரிய opportunity actually. இது ஒரு மிகப்பெரிய opportunity.
உங்களோட அகாடமிக் இதுன்னு தேவையில்லை பட் ஜஸ்ட் ஒரு இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் பிகாஸ் விஷுவல் கம்யூனிகேஷன் டெஃபினெட்லி யூ ஷுட் ஹேவ் இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் வேற எது இல்ல சம் அதர் யூ ஹேவ் சம்திங் இல்ல யா நீங்க கேட்கலாம் எங்க
because sir spoke about Tamil cinema, right? Are you aware when we got Tamil cinema? Yes. You have a question? Just a minute. Come. Did we start with Marathi cinema, Tamil cinema, Bengali cinema, etc., etc.? No. In 1913, we had Indian cinema. Lord Krishna looked Lord Krishna across the nation. Lord Vishnu looked Lord Vishnu because they were more dominant. They were more following the mythological stories on screen. So Raja Harishchandra was Raja Harishchandra. When it became Ayodhya's Raja, the same Harishchandra became Marathi. And it started with 1931 Alamara. The first talkie of India was 1931. This phenomena did not happen anywhere else in the world. Because we are the nation which talks many languages. It did not happen in America. The jazz singer remained the jazz singer in 1927 because the film talked in English only. This did not happen here. Our films became regional after our cinema started speaking. So then Lord Krishna started speaking Marathi, Hindi, Urdu, Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, etc., etc. And so when we talk or when somebody would write the history of cinema, or there are many people who have been studying also, we became regional with regard to cinema post 1930. Before that, people were making films in different regions, but the cinema was Indian. So there were Marathis, Maharashtra Film Company in Kolhapur, they were making films. Baruas were making films in Kolkata. There are many people making films in different parts of the world. The Prabhat Film Company made one film in Tamil. They were Marathi. They hardly knew the language, but they made a film in Tamil after the film started now. So it's a very interesting thing when we became Tamil and Marathi, especially with regard to the cinema. Before that we were all having one cinema, that was Indian films. Yes.
Hi sir, my name is Prasanna. So as an assistant director, AD working. I will move AD working. ஸோ இப்போ இருக்க ஜென்ரல்ஸ் எல்லாமே அனிமேஷன் தான் பார்த்துட்டு இருக்காங்க, எல்லாமே சப்டைட்டில்ஸ் பார்த்துட்டு இருக்காங்க. சில பேர் ஜாப்பனீஸ் ஃபீல்டில் பார்க்குறாங்க, சில பேர் இந்த சப்டைட்டில் இங்கிலீஷ் வச்சு பார்த்துட்டு இருக்காங்க, சில பேர் டப்பிங் மேலே பார்த்துட்டு இருக்காங்க. இப்போ வந்து ஒரு ஃபேமஸான இங்கிலீஷ் டைரக்டர் ஒருத்தர் வந்து நான் படம் பண்ண மாட்டேன் அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டாரு. ஏன் அப்படின்னா எல்லாருமே இப்போ அனிமேஷன் தான் பார்க்க ஆரம்பிக்கிறாங்க. அனிமேஷன் வந்து எல்லாமே இப்போ கம்ப்யூட்டரில் கிரியேட் பண்ணது தான். உட்காந்த இடத்துலையே ஒன் டே ஃபுல்லாக உட்காந்து ஒர்க் பண்ணாங்க, அனிமேஷன் கிரியேட் பண்ணது தான். ஆனால் தமிழ் சினிமா பொறுத்தளவு ஸ்பாட்டுக்கு போய் ஆர்டிஸ்ட் வச்சு எல்லாம் ஒர்க் பண்ணி கேமரா ஒர்க் எல்லாம் பண்ணுறாங்க. அதுக்கு இதுக்கு வித்தியாசம் இருக்குது. நீங்கள் எப்படி பார்க்குறீங்க? ஐ வில் லைக் இட்ஸ் அனிமி அண்ட் ஒர்க் சினிமா.
See, his question was that now there's more into anime films because on OTT platforms also, if you are an avid watcher, you will see a lot of K movies, you will have Japanese movies, all of them. Japanese from manga series, they make all the OTT series. So these things happen. So his question is, now when we have so many other options, is it really okay? He's an assistant, you're working as an assistant director? Okay, his question is, are we still into motion films with real characters? Isn't it all these things just a figment of our imagination? Animes are all figment of imagination and they're all done in a small space. Will this still magic work? That is his question.
I think it will work. It will keep on as the AI is coming. In Hollywood, all the big stars have created the images of their faces and they have done the copywriting of it. So if anybody wants to use any particular actor, not the actor performing, still the actor would get paid for that because there is a copyright on his face. There are many things, many similar things. But see, that is where we put ourselves into competition. Now, we as makers, not only in cinema, also in television or on OTTs, we have to look at ourselves as makers. Why the young generation is following the K series? Is it lacking? Just tell me how you, because you have raised the question. On any of these series, has anybody died and reincarnated? Same person. In Indian television, this has happened. A person died in one of the daily shows, daily soaps, and people, especially ladies, did a morcha on the office. And under the pressure of the audience, he had to be re-brought into the show. When they have shown him dead, he had died on screen. But he again, by something happened and he relived. So what you have said is right. The audience has now many more possibilities and opportunities to watch. There are some fantastic channels, which channels in the sense, there are some few openings on internet, through internet we are getting, where there are films of different kinds are being watched. They are facilitating us like movie. Yeah? Such platforms are actually providing us with content which may not come to us in a regular commercial way. So as students, we may have to look out for other opportunities also where we get to see. On YouTube also there are many platforms, they actually show us short films. So even short film is actually garnering a lot of interest in people, correct? At the same time, we are also having a 40-second Insta reels. That also can make somebody cry or somebody laugh. So that is also coming as a competition to a maker. So if I have to make somebody cry at 2.5 hours, and if somebody is crying at 30-second content, then why would one say 2.5 hours? Have I answered your question? Have I answered his question? So he talked about dubbing also, I think. Something to do with dubbing. Okay. See, there is this something which we have not taken seriously. Subtitling. While I was a student, there was a Chinese film festival happening in one of our theatres. And the actor was speaking. So I do not know Chinese. So please, you just follow the sound. Do not go by the words. So something like that. And he kept on talking for a long time. And the subtitle appeared as "thank you." So I think almost for 20 seconds he was speaking. Something like that, those sounds. And the subtitle appeared as "thank you." So how the subtitle should be very important is, it is not exactly what is being said on screen, it is the gist of what is being said. Not everybody is habitual to read the subtitles and watch the content, watch the images. Sorry, something wrong happening there. Guys, you are disturbing. Please. Please do not talk. I mean cross talk. So that is the area which I think everybody has a possibility to excel, because there are not many specialized people looking and creating subtitles. So that is something. And secondly, I think he spoke about dubbing. I'll give you an example. How many of you have seen Roja? Mani Ratnam's Roja? Many of you have seen, all of you mostly, right? So, Roja is a story of Satyavans and Savitri. Right? In Indian mythology, where Satyavana's prana are being taken by Yama, and Savitri follows and brings him back. Correct? You put it into Roja and see, it is the same story. Correct? Now, in how the language plays, I'm sure you anybody here who has watched Roja in Hindi. She has watched. I have watched Roja in Hindi only first time, because that time I was not familiar with reading subtitles. I was maybe in college, I think, that time. So I had watched the Roja in Hindi, and later when I joined this film school, I watched Roja in presence of one of our, I think Santosh sir had come. So in main theatre we had a screening of Roja in presence of Santosh sir. Then I saw that it in Tamil. What happens? There is a scene in Roja where Arvind Swami is kidnapped, and Roja is going around banging doors, meeting people, putting her agony, anguish that her husband is being kidnapped. And she comes to a camping site where the in charge of that place is a Sardarji, an officer from North India who does not understand a single word what Roja is speaking, because she is speaking Tamil and he is a Punjabi guy. So there is a communication issue in between what Roja is saying and what the person standing in front is understanding. So she is talking, he is requesting Behenji, and he is not understanding, right? So she is saying, I am a proud Tamilian, my husband is an Indian scientist, he is working for the nation, he is being kidnapped. This is the gist of what she is talking, and the person is not able to understand what she is talking. Now this may work in Tamil version of Roja. What happens when Roja starts speaking Hindi? What happens when Roja starts speaking Hindi in the Hindi version of the film? Language does not remain a barrier. Whatever she is speaking, the Sardarji has to understand. The Punjabi officer has to understand whatever she is speaking, because she is speaking Hindi, he follows Hindi. Entire conversation had to be changed, because for the nationwide audience. Now you see Roja, both the versions, and you will realize that the Tamil version of Roja, she essentially being a proud Tamilian serving the nation. The Hindi version changes the connotation of the scene. The scene is totally changed with the minor details of what she is saying. This is how dubbing works. The dubbing changes the entire way how the narration is taking place. So the same thing happens in the songs also. Dil Hai Chota Sa Choti Si Asha is in Hindi. I do not know the exact word in Tamil. Correct? But the rhythm remains the same. That is what is going on. Words may change, the essential rhythm remains the same. So hence the languages become extremely important. I think that is one example which has left a very deep impact, especially because if there is no communication problem, how the scene would progress? How the scene cannot progress if the person is understanding what the girl is saying. There is no confrontation there. There is no hurdle. Yes, any questions? Any more questions? Yes.
The thing is, sir, have you watched Jailer, sir? Jailer? Like any other superstar movies like that? Like Bahubali, have you watched, sir? Yeah. The thing is that I have an idea like in the recent days in cinemas, like the commercial cinemas are crushing over the cult like cinemas, like what we assume as art films we consider, no, sir. There is the same film that has released like Milnd Dhamle also released in Tamil, but nobody has ever like had a look on it. Like a very minimum amount of people have watched that movie, but it doesn't have the impact what Bahubali had. Like, do you think that we filmmakers should have the narration like in a commercial way or like what we presume like the cult way, sir? Thank you.
See, the commercials also have made cults. So primarily, as a film student, I do not look at it as two different things. Like this person sitting here is in his makeup, correct? Are you doing it for a street play? Fine play. Anybody here who does street plays? Nobody. Okay. But you have heard about street plays, correct? For a street play, do you need any equipment? Do you need, if you do not have any equipment, if you do not have any funds, if you do not have any special costumes, still you can manage doing a street play? Can the same thing be done in cinema? No. You cannot begin without a camera. Unless you have a camera, you cannot think of cinema. After you have the camera, you need equipment, you need infrastructure, you need methodologies to edit, you need equipment, and then you need a projection. Unless you have all these things, say for mobile, for example, if we consider that as a projection system, still you need a mobile. Cinema has always been a commercial work. It was always an entity with commerce. It was never art only. Cinema was always an amalgamation of art, economics, engineering. These were the three main parts. In between, when these movements came, because there was the government agencies who were actually funding the new ideas coming in the storytelling. Hence we have people like Kumar Shani, Manikal, Adul Gopal Krishnan, who made films in smaller budgets. Ketan Mehta, Saeed Mirza, people like them, they came with their different type of storytelling, which was creating, began an art movement in India, if you have to talk about. Of course, there are many stalwarts also, and I have just taken a few names. But the cinemas had a support to be reaching out to public. Now, unless we have audiences, how do we see cinema happening? I can make a personal film. If I have to invest, I am making a personal film, I am fine. I'll make it, I'll watch it. But for whom we make cinema? If I have to ask this question, the answer is for audience. Because there is commerce involved in it. Right? So even a filmmaker, like if we take the example of the latest Dt.7.10's film, it won at Berlin. Or Venice it won. So it's an art film if you have to look at it with regard to the pace, the kind of storytelling, the tehrav that it has. It may not have that commercial values with what we say in a commercial where there is a advanced booking and houseful boards, etc., etc. But still, it has its own value. Maybe not today. Tomorrow, it may create into a classic. But on the other side, I may take examples of films like Andaz Apna Rajkumar Sarkoji's film. It was a big commercial film Over the years, it became a part for the people who actually understand that kind of language which is being said. With big 2 stars, it didn't do well in theatres. So there are so many films which had begun, which had not completed. There are so many films which actually got completed, did not reach the theatres. So many films reached the theatres but did not even stand on day one. And there are many films who tried to stand, run, etc., but didn't reach to the goal where they were expected. On the other hand, the example that I could immediately remember is Hyderabad Blues. That was a film which did not involve a lot of commerce in the sense of investments in terms of making. But it created that kind of impact. Everybody has its own way to tell the story. Like he is working as assistant director. Every day while he is going on set, he must be having one idea in his mind. If the producer tells him tomorrow that now you will make a film for me, he has to make a film what he wants to make. But does the producer also wants to put the money on the film that he wants to make? There is something where we have to decide. Where the decision comes. There are 2 ways, 2 roads. Everybody has it. Even the housewives have it. The people going to offices have this kind of decision making on this or that. The filmmakers, one fights, one struggles. Have you seen Negeda Ka Tara? One suffers for one's ideals, is what the teacher says. It's quite a tough thing. It's not. If one thinks at night that I am making a film and before waking up in the morning the film is ready, that's why my question is, do you make films? Because that is not easy. I can tell you stories like this right now, but does that convert into a film? No. Somebody is recording what I am talking. That may make the sense to somebody sitting somewhere, and then there may be a spark which may say that now I want to make a film. This is what all about communication. Have I answered your question? These are a little tricky questions basically, because one has to go through it to experience over the years. I make shorter films. I have the kind of time that I have, the kind of smaller salary money that I have, I keep on making small films every year. I have decided to make one short film. I am making. That makes me happy. I write, I try to edit whenever the time permits, but I produce. That makes me happy. It's all about happiness. It's all about enjoyment. If at the end of the day you have made an art film and then you are cribbing that I should have made a commercial, who has stopped you? Wait for some more time for the right person to invest. Okay. Should we wind up this? So please pass on the word, circulate the word that Dr. Biswa Beura is here with me, and he will be talking about the journey of images. It is going to be a very interesting session from where we had begun to where we have reached now. I hope I have not overrun a few of the content today in the progression of deviation. But it is going to be a very interesting talk that is going to happen tomorrow. So I request all of you to be present, also spread the word. Except for the broken chairs, other chairs could be filled for the class. So that is something that we may look forward for tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you very much, guys. Did anybody